Y&R Spoilers Reveal After a series of stressful days, with events that kept piling up, the relationship between Sharon and Phyllis had major changes. On a bad day that no one could have predicted, Sharon had to face a big challenge when Phyllis fell into a dangerous situation. This was not only a confrontation, but also a moment that tested the courage and resilience of both women. The truth about the relationship between Sharon and Phyllis were not always friends. In the past, they had faced off in countless conflicts and tensions, especially related to their relationship with Nick Newman. Both had painful moments because of these cracks, but life is a series of events that we sometimes cannot predict. After a mutual kidnapping, a terrible incident changed everything between them. When the two women are kidnapped and held captive in a dark room, they have no choice but to rely on each other to survive. Together, they overcome their fear and despair, sharing moments of empathy and bonding like never before. It is a period that is not only physically grueling but also mentally challenging. However, although Sharon and Phyllis reconcile after the kidnapping, their relationship is not always easy. Phyllis, with her strong but unstable nature, always has difficulty dealing with her emotions after the event. Sharon, meanwhile, is much more resilient. She has been through too many challenges in her life, from personal trauma to major loss, to stand on her own 2 feet. Sharon has learned to bounce back and keep going, even after the darkest moments. Nick Newman and salvation. One of the important factors that helped Sharon stay strong was the support of Nick Newman. With a partner like Nick, Sharon had an extra support to overcome everything. While Phyllis seemed to find no such comfort, Sharon had Nick by her side, helping her recover and fight the pain of the past. Nick was a man who always supported Sharon in every situation, but even he could not have imagined that Phyllis, his old friend, would have to face such a dangerous situation. Nick could understand the complexity of Sharon and Phyllis's relationship, but he could not deny that both of them needed help in these difficult times. Facing the unusual one morning, Sharon returned home after a long day at work. She was used to a peaceful life, and a large part of that was the presence of Nick and her own recovery. But today, something was off in the air. Sharon walked into the house, feeling anxious and uneasy. She quickly realized that there was a change in the air, something was waiting for her, and perhaps Phyllis needed her. Sharon knew that Phyllis couldn't face everything on her own, especially when old pains came flooding back. Even though their relationship had improved, Sharon couldn't deny that Phyllis was a complicated woman, with many secrets and deep-seated fears. Sharon felt she needed to be there, right now, to help Phyllis once more. With a heart full of concern and determination, Sharon quickly decided to intervene. She couldn't let Phyllis continue to drown in this chaos alone. She called Phyllis and gave her constant instructions, perhaps even urgent words that Sharon needed to say to save Phyllis from a great danger. She doesn't know exactly what's going on, but what she does know is that Phyllis needs her more than ever. Phyllis and Sharon, can we help each other? When Sharon arrives at the place where Phyllis needs her most, she discovers that the situation is not as simple as she thought. Phyllis has been caught up in a dangerous situation that she cannot escape on her own. Memories of the kidnapping combined with the turmoil in Phyllis's mind have pushed her into a dangerous situation. Sharon walks into the room, seeing Phyllis struggling with herself, completely overwhelmed by fear and anxiety. Sharon doesn't say much, she just reaches out, gentle and firm, to let Phyllis feel the safety and warmth she needs. This is not the first time Sharon has faced crises in her life, but this time, she knows she must stand firm to help Phyllis overcome them. Can Sharon pull Phyllis out of the darkness once more? Can Sharon help her former rival find peace and the confidence to move on with her life? The answer will come from Sharon's resilience, as she must not only face her own pain but also help a friend who was once an enemy, an act of love and sacrifice that is not easy. Sharon has learned a lot from her painful experiences in life, but perhaps it is these challenges that have made her stronger. Her relationship with Phyllis will continue to grow, not through easy paths, but through internal struggles and facing the past. Only time will tell if Sharon and Phyllis will be able to continue together, but there is no doubt that something greater is waiting for them. They are not just two women who have had a complicated relationship, but also friends, companions who have overcome great challenges in life together. And with Sharon by their side, nothing is impossible. Sharon and Phyllis, when helping turns into a war. Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers, two women who have been rivals on many fronts for years, are now caught up in a complicated and emotional relationship. They were friends, then enemies, but now, after life's upheavals, can Sharon be the one to save Phyllis when she's in a panic? Sharon and the London trip, a quiet place in life. Sharon and Nick Newman's family trip to London was supposed to be a great opportunity for them to decompress from the stresses of life. Sharon was in dire need of a break from the constant challenges in her personal life. She had been through a lot, from difficult decisions about family, love to complicated relationships in Genoa. London, with its peaceful atmosphere and the absence of work or family burdens, became the ideal place for Sharon and Nick to find each other again. During that time, Sharon found temporary peace, feeling close and loved by Nick, but no one could avoid the fact that everything would not be peaceful forever. And when the trip ended, Sharon knew that she had to return to Genoa to face new challenges. Phyllis, the lost life and the ultimate panic. When Sharon returned to the city, she would have to face a completely different Phyllis. A Phyllis who was no longer as strong, determined and ambitious as before. After being fired by Billy Abbott and her personal life continued to be difficult, Phyllis seemed unable to escape the chaotic spiral she had created for herself. Billy, the man Phyllis once loved, decided to end her cooperation with her at the Abbott Company, which was like a big shock to Phyllis. Especially in the context of her own struggles with her own emotions and inner thoughts, this decision pushed her into a state of extreme panic. Not only did Phyllis lose her job, but she also felt isolated, left behind in a world she could not control. Phyllis's son, Daniel, repeatedly advised her to retreat, to find a way to regain her composure in life. But this did not seem to work. Phyllis was spinning around, trying to find a purpose in life, but everything seemed to be backfiring. Clinging to Summer Newman, her daughter, and trying to help her continue her work at Marchetti was a futile effort. Phyllis could not escape the cycle of self-destruction. She could not simply live for others without first healing herself. Sharon returns and the price of compassion. When Sharon returned to Genoa, she could not help but notice a marked change in Phyllis. Their relationship had improved since the kidnapping incident, but Sharon knew that helping Phyllis now would not be easy. Phyllis, despite her struggles, was still a strong, proud, and self-respecting woman. She had always been able to face difficulties, even though she could make people around her think she was never weak. But now, Phyllis was at her weakest point Sharon had ever seen. Sharon knew that only she could understand Phyllis at this moment, because Sharon herself had experienced a lot of pain and loss in her life. During those days of living with unhealed wounds, Sharon had learned how to recover, how to accept her weakness, and how to move forward. She knew that she could help Phyllis, but would she have the strength to do so without getting caught up in the emotional storm that Phyllis was going through? A friendship tested, Sharon and Phyllis. Sharon will not be able to ignore Phyllis's struggles. After all she has been through, she cannot abandon her friend who was once her enemy, especially when Phyllis needs help more than ever. Although she knows that helping Phyllis will not be easy, Sharon decides to step into her life again. It is not only the help of a friend, but also the opportunity for Sharon to heal her own wounds. Although Phyllis may not realize it at first, Sharon knows that she needs to be patient. She will be the one to give the right advice, but not to impose. Sharon understands that Phyllis needs time, needs space to regain her confidence and the ability to face life. She will not judge Phyllis, but will be her companion, helping her realize that no matter how difficult things are, she can still overcome them. Will Sharon be the one to help? We can imagine Sharon finding Phyllis when she is completely broken, in a mess of emotions and fear. This scene will be an opportunity for Sharon to once again become the one to save her, but will Sharon be able to keep her composure to help Phyllis not only overcome her panic, but also heal her inner wounds? Sharon has been through too much to give up easily. And even though Phyllis is in a difficult situation, Sharon will not give up on her. But this does not mean that Phyllis will accept help easily. Phyllis will have to learn to face herself and her choices, And Sharon will be the one to be there for her, not only to help but also to give her a chance to start her life over. The rebirth of a friendship. Sharon and Phyllis's relationship has been challenging, but now they have a chance to rebuild it. While Phyllis struggles with herself, Sharon can be the friend she needs, the one who will help her regain her lost peace and confidence. But most importantly, Sharon will not leave Phyllis alone in this battle. She will be her companion to help her overcome the next challenges. This relationship will not only be a story of redemption, but also a story of forgiveness, understanding, and true friendship. Sharon is ready. Can Phyllis accept help and start a new journey? After the upheavals in Phyllis Summer's life, Sharon Newman returns to Genoa, where she not only faces her own challenges but also witnesses the mental breakdown of her old friend. Phyllis, who was once a fierce rival in many love and work struggles, is now in a difficult situation. And Sharon, with her resilience, may be the only person who can help Phyllis overcome the emotional wall that is preventing her from finding herself again. Sharon returns to Genoa, a difficult journey home. Sharon leaves Genoa to join Nick on a family trip to London, hoping to find some peace after a series of major life events. Her relationship with Nick has gone through many challenges, but this trip gives Sharon the opportunity to renew herself, to clear her mind of all worries. However, when she returns, Sharon soon realizes that Genoa is not simply a city where she can easily forget the old tensions. One of the first shocks that Sharon faces is Phyllis's condition. The relationship between Sharon and Phyllis has gone through many ups and downs. From fierce conflicts over Nick to empathy in difficult times, these two women have had times of fierce confrontation but also moments of understanding. However, this time, Sharon will have to witness Phyllis falling into an emotional spiral with no way out. Phyllis, the girl who lost her way after a series of events in her life, Phyllis Summers is no longer the strong, confident and independent woman that everyone knows. She lost her job at Abbott, a big shock to Phyllis as she used to be the pillar of this company. Billy Abbott, whom Phyllis once considered family, decided to fire her, marking a painful turning point in her life. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Phyllis was all too familiar with the feeling of no longer having control over her life. It left her feeling lost and helpless. Although she tried to cling to those around her, like her daughter Summer Newman and her desire to help her with her job at Marchetti, Phyllis could not escape the fact that she was spinning in a world that seemed to have no end. The psychological and emotional problems she was experiencing could not be cured by superficial actions or the salvation of others. Although Phyllis tried to find a purpose in life, the truth was that she was hiding deep pain that no one could understand. Phyllis's attempts to continue a normal life seemed to backfire. Things keep getting worse, and Phyllis is in a situation that no one can pull her out of unless she starts to face what's wrong with her. Sharon and the big decision. When Sharon returns and sees the chaos in Phyllis's life, she knows she has to do something to help her old friend. However, Sharon's help is more than just taking Phyllis home and comforting her. Sharon knows that in order for Phyllis to find herself, she needs to confront the deep issues in her own mind. And the only way to do that is to seek professional help. Sharon is no stranger to dealing with emotional crises. She has been through many challenges in her life, from emotional losses to wounds that have never fully healed. Therefore, Sharon understands that it's not enough to simply try to get over these issues. She couldn't give Phyllis the simple advice that it's going to be okay. Sharon knew that the only way Phyllis would recover was if she faced the difficult emotions and feelings. In a pivotal moment, Sharon told Phyllis the 4 words she probably needed most: "You need professional help." They weren't easy words to say, but Sharon understood that Phyllis couldn't get through this crisis on her own without professional help. Phyllis may not have realized it at the time, but Sharon's advice was a crucial turning point in her healing journey. Phyllis needs time to heal. Sharon knew that Phyllis would not take this advice easily. She knew that Phyllis was used to dealing with things on her own, and she would likely resist help. But Sharon was patient, not rushing things, because she understood that this process would take time. Phyllis needed time to come to terms with the old hurts, the bad decisions she had made in the past, and the fact that she could not heal all her wounds on her own. Sharon was not just a friend, but someone who stood up to help Phyllis look back on her life. Sharon could help Phyllis find a mental health professional to talk to release the emotions and thoughts that were building up inside her. But ultimately, Phyllis was the one who had to decide to open up and find a way to heal. Salvation and new allies. Sharon understands that her help can't solve all her problems overnight, but she hopes that Phyllis will soon realize that seeking professional help is the only way she can live a healthier and happier life. Sharon may not be a psychologist, but she is a friend who can help Phyllis begin her journey to self-discovery. As Phyllis continues to deal with her pain, Sharon will be there, not only as a friend but also as a companion on her journey to recovery. The first steps may be difficult, but with the help of Sharon and the professionals, Phyllis will gradually find her way back. And that is the message Sharon wants to convey. Sometimes, salvation doesn't come from trying to change everything, but from seeking the right help. Everyone has hard times, and Phyllis is no exception. Sharon will help her find peace, and one day, Phyllis will know that she is not alone in this battle. Their story is a testament to the difference friendship, patience, and support can make in a person's life. With Sharon's determination, Phyllis may realize that she needs more than just a friend, but a chance to start over, to heal, and to find balance in her life. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest news on our channel.